Well, we're a few minutes after. It's time to get going. So welcome everybody to the websites meeting, the week of the 10th, May 10th. So Vishal, Neil, Gaurav, Chinmay, Austin, Anita, Abhishek, Jaskirat. We should have Nikhil coming on as well. So I think he'll be helping push forward along with Chinmay, learn layer 5 stuff. So today, I think just two topics in so much as we have thus far. So the first is discuss.layer5.io. Abhishek, this one is a continuation from last time we met. So most of you are familiar with the fact that we're bringing up a discourse server, and that instance of discourse is well in the process of being reskinned. Not much progress has been made for the last few weeks, actually. So Abhishek, you'll give an update on the production deployment. I guess before you do, I'll note that we have a few outstanding items. So we have the wrong font. We have some categories that are missing. Some colors that I don't think that we intend to use here. As you go to log in as well, Chinmay, I think you were noting this, that this is probably not quite the design that we're looking for. The wrong sized font up here, and I think the wrong font in general. So let's take some notes on those. We might, sounds like they've been hanging out for a while, so it sounds like we probably need individual issues on these. Chinmay, this is probably an area that I expect you might be working on.
Yes, sure, I'll work it on.
In the header and footer, what else did we just say? So use of poor use of colors, or okay. Now, on that, do we have a better mock-up? So Austin, I think you did one recently. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And where is that?
Yeah.
Discuss. Okay. So Chinmay, do you see this?
Yes, sir.
Well, there's just a couple of changes here to kind of tighten this up. The hero, and then some different colors going on.
Sir, I also asked you about the login or sign up page model that opens up. There's a poor use again. Color is not according to our layer 5 color scheme.
Yep. Yeah, yep. You're right. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Is
Yes,
we should get that. Yeah, we should get that changed. That should be a line item on here. We should probably open an issue for each of these. Who can open an issue on these? The font family, the wrong colors, not in accordance with the ones in the design.
Sure, I'll open it.
And the login. Okay. Oh, thanks, Chinmay. And Chinmay, do you intend to chase after each of those, or are you asking for assistance from others on the call here?
Sir, if somebody wants to take it, work on that issue, so he is welcome. If no one will comment on that, I'll take that issue. I'll work on it.
All right. Any takers? So Gaurav, are you still focused on the UI, the filters and Mesher UI?
Yeah, I'm focusing on that.
Okay, got
Yeah.
you. And Neil, what are you focused on?
Oh, I was going to type that. Basically, I'm having my end some exams, so yeah, I will be not be able to actively,
Got you.
do some
Okay.
things.
Okay,
I
got it.
was going to focus on the tooltip issue, but yeah, we'll look into it.
Oh, I see. The tooltip issue in Mesher UI. Okay, got it.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, I guess that brings us to Cynthia. Is Discuss something that you'd like to work on, or are you leaning into the Learn site?
Okay, so I actually just joined right now. I'm sorry for being late, but I think I'm leaning more into learn. Yeah.
Okay, sure,
Mm.
sure. Okay, I think Chinmay, that means you've got the ball.
Uh,
Yeah, or rather, so Cynthia, we were just trying to figure out if anyone else is going to focus on Discuss, and I think it's just Chinmay at the moment. So
okay.
so learn Layer5 stuff for you. That sounds great. And we're gonna talk about the learn Layer5 stuff here in a moment. Okay. Anything else on Discuss? So this mock-up here, I believe this is achievable. I think, Austin, does this match with what we've seen on HashiCorp site? Is that the deal?
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. Okay. Do we know? Okay. Sounds like we're not sure if this is feasible then.
Um, I just reduced the fonts and then use some titles from Mesh discussion on the discuss with layer 5 to show what we currently have instead of using Laura Ipson.
Okay, so I'm not sure. That doesn't answer my question. Are we sure if this is feasible?
Yeah, it should be. It should be. It should be. I don't know if they'll be able to if it's a cause trouble during development.
Okay.
I did remove the commenting and all that to make it easier to develop,
To make it easier to what?
to build out rather.
Okay. Hmm. Hmm. So part of what we're looking at is a change in font and color.
And the spacing.
Okay. Huh. Okay. Chinmay, do what you can. This looks nicer and cleaner, for sure. The breadcrumbs. Mm. Yeah, so Chinmay, I'm not sure. Maybe there's an option just to remove the color coding next to each of the categories. If we have the ability to show a logo, that would work in this case.
So I'll look into it.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, part of how far you can get it just depends on what's feasible within the tool. Okay. All right. Well, um, the Discuss site is, well, kind of dangling. We got a couple of, well, some deployment issues, I think. So, Abhishek, you're up.
Yeah, so basically for the production deployment, I've created all the resources. A little bit of configuration is yet to be done in Discuss application, basically to enable external Redis, external database, and etc. So that needs to be configured yet. Um, so we are using Elasticache for Elasticache's Redis server for the Redis compatibility, and we're using Postgres from RDS
Yep.
for, as a Postgres database. And then for search, again, we're using the same Postgres.
Okay.
Uh, yeah.
Okay. If memory serves, I thought we were going to stay away from Elasticache.
Yeah, so I checked if they have support for native Redis compatibility. So they did have, so it's better that way because they give us auto scaling out of the box. So I thought like it's better to have it that way.
With Elasticache?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Do you recall what the pricing is on Elasticache?
Um, I don't remember, but I can check. Just a second.
Okay. Yeah, it's a point of interest. It's certainly easier to have a managed service.
Mhm.
So while you're looking that up, there's been a couple of issues that we haven't been able to overcome. So one of them is use of email and the messages that go out. So I think we'll end up needing a dedicated email account.
Yeah. So for that, I would need your help.
Okay. So let me get this the email. And then on, okay, so Elasticache, Postgres from Postgres RDS. So those seem relatively straightforward, both of those managed services. Right now you've got, did you say you have a new EC2 instance?
Yeah.
Okay. And then some of the current configuration from the site itself, are you familiar with how that's migrated?
Um, do you want do you want to migrate from the staging release as well?
Well, not the comments or the threads, but like this content here, like the hero would be, or the footer, the header. There's a number of settings that we've enabled or disabled.
Okay. That would be challenging because it was internal database uh, in the case of the staging deployment. So I'm not sure if the Docker image supports a lot of commands, then I can get the data.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't know like this backup, like they might have a procedure. It sounds like you haven't been able to spend time there just yet, right? So this is more research. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so research on, before the end of the call, Chinmay, you'll have open issues, I think for these three things. And then Abhishek, can you go ahead and open up issues on these as well? Because these are sort of slipping to the back. There's an SSL issue as well.
Mhm.
Any update there?
No, I haven't started with the Let's Encrypt, but like basically it comes after the configuration part, so I'll do it
Okay.
after this.
Okay. And that you're confident that that will solve our SSL, like HTTP to SSL redirect?
Yeah, that should solve because we're enabling SSL in the application itself.
Okay. So this will provision the certificate, but then in terms of redirection though, between ports,
So the Discourse container internally runs Nginx as a proxy, so it takes care.
Okay. Okay. To provide HTTP to HTTPS port redirection. Okay. So you'll research on migration of, well, it's both, it's sort of settings. I guess it's sort of all settings, but some of it's settings slash, I don't know if they're called widgets. Chinmay, do you know what the content is called? The like the header and the footer, the hero. No, Chinmay, you don't know, do you? Is anybody else on the site on the call now? Nobody's done a migration of discourse, have they? Anybody else here want to assist Abhishek in that research? Ooh, look, the backup button. But again, that might just be for the threads. So Abhishek,
I
it sounds
think,
like
they have an option in the UI, I guess, to take backups and then to upload the backup file in the admin console, I guess.
yeah. My question is whether or not that has, if that's just the threads and the topics, like the posts, or if that's actually the rest of the custom header and etc. So Abhishek, since last we met, it sounds like it's just been a deployment of an EC2 instance.
Yeah, setting up of like basically elastic IPs, security groups, and then databases. That's
Okay.
it.
Okay. Same VPC, elastic IP, security group. Is there a new PEM for that specific EC2 instance, or is it just
I've
reusing?
reused the Discourse staging pen.
Okay. Same PEM for all discuss EC2 instances. Okay. By the way, does everybody know what PEM is?
Isn't it a key format for
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that you can authenticate, like you most commonly used in SSH. So you can.
Okay.
Yeah. It's almost like having a, well, it is a lot like having a username and a password sort of all bundled into one. Then it lets you, and that, in this case for these specific EC2 instances, it lets you access them and get into them. So they're highly guarded. Okay. Abhishek, just out of curiosity, did you find the pricing on Elasticache?
Yeah, I did. It's around $13.
A month?
Yeah,
A
a month.
day? A month. Okay. You scared me there for a second when you didn't say. Okay.
Okay.
A month. Okay. Okay. So here's a link to here.
So I'll enable one more option. So I didn't enable that. So basically there is an optimization on this, which makes it $0.2 per hour, which means
Oh.
yeah, it comes around $15. No, sorry. Yeah, it's around 150. Yes.
Okay. You know what? Well, okay. Yeah, that's a big jump between 13 to 150.
Yeah, I'll just cross verify the
Okay.
pricing. Probably it's.
Okay. Yep. Yep. Yep.
So what is the cap?
Well, 150 is too much. Like we're not going to get that much use out of the site to begin with, not until like more content gets seeded on there.
Mhm.
So it's just like we just don't need that type of speed. It's not going to pay off. And so like
I'll create a larger instance and then start a Redis server alongside. That's fine.
okay, yeah, that'll be the trade-off is that it's a little more operational overhead. But the nice thing is it's just a cache. So if we ever upgrade in the future, it's like it's just switching out where the cache is. So okay, good. So I'll change this to probably to Redis then as the cache.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. If anybody wants to do some, well, get more familiar with discourse or do some operations type work or operations type learning, this is a good question to dig into. I mean, so one, this is your last chance, pretty much. I hope it's your last chance to get full administrative access to discourse and poke around and learn and understand things. When the production deployment goes forth, that'll be limited to just a couple of folks to make sure that the site is running. There will be invitations to a number of people, likely community managers, to help moderate the site, help moderate the content, make sure people that are coming are engaged, that they're not being jerks, that they're, So if this is of interest to you, signal.
Okay, so we can meet Abhishek for that, yeah?
Yeah. And
right.
yep. And Josh Patel as well. Like good to keep Josh in the loop. He's doing exams, but he'll be back.
All right then.
Yeah, and Anita, like as you think about that, as you familiarize and things, like that's a real thing. What I was just saying is like, well, what happens when the site goes up and people ask a question? Like, is everyone welcome to answer? And or like, like what are the rules? And what if they start swearing? And what if they ask the same question 19 times? Or, like there's all kinds of things to go on. And well, we don't have any rules written down. And moreover, we don't have any rules published, or we do, like we have a code of conduct, and that code of conduct probably applies, like the very same one probably applies to this medium as well. It's still the same community, it's just a different medium. And so, yeah, those are some things that we need to think about a little bit. Like, okay, fine, we have a code of conduct, but where is it? Is it linked anywhere? When someone signs up, does it let them know that, like, it lets them know that there's these things? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. That's for discourse. Let's go back here. So, but in general, I think you probably get the point of what I'm saying, which is, well, there's a lot to that. There's more than meets the eye. So here, this points to discuss.layer5.io/privacy. I don't think that will, oh, okay. So this does land on a privacy page, but this is for discourse. This is like discourse's general. And this is good in so much as they do talk about the fact that discourse, the server uses cookies. So that's good. But yeah, I mean, but anyway, there's a number of softer things to be considered that are very important. Softer meaning, the behavior, and also, if there are specific individuals in the community, I'll give it a couple of examples here. So Chinmay is on the call, just as an example. So Chinmay has done, well, he's worked on a number of things in the community. here this last, I don't know, yesterday even, I think, landed some changes in Meshree's UI, has landed. I can't go through the list. It's a long, Jinmay's been here a while. He's done a lot of things, but point is, if there's if there's a topic on Meshree UI, maybe there's a couple of people that we'd like to identify in the community as being, well, moderators for that thread. Like maybe there's different levels of moderation. There's some that's just topic specific and kind of nerdy to just to that topic. There's some moderation that just sort of needs to happen broadly and generally. Like if someone asks a question 23 days ago and there's 0 responses, should we do anything, or should there be, like, the site itself is configurable to do things like remind people or poke people. There's a Slack integration that Josh has covered and stuff. There's a full-time job in here, or, you know, like for a large enough community, like there's a lot that goes on in here. So the landscape is a good example. Like with Nikhil on now, it's a good example of Nikhil is someone who spent a lot of time in the landscape. We're asking people. We just asked a group last night to add their service mesh. Alibaba Cloud actually add their service mesh to the landscape, and they'll have questions, or people will say, well, they'll say stuff like this, like which service mesh should I use, and so how do we respond to that? These types of things. All considerations as we get ready to go live. So Anita, that's what happens when you ask a question, I guess. You get
Well, it sounds like so much, but I'm sure with the help of Abhishek and every other person, I'll be able to understand better.
Yeah. And some of them are fairly straight. Some of them are intuitive questions, like what if someone is using swear words or being quite rude? Like, you know,
So, but there'll be like a code of conduct laid out, yeah?
Yeah. And I don't know that, see, here's the thing is, like, I don't know that we have it listed here, but the same in all of our repositories and in our community guides and things, we have a link to that code of conduct. But I don't know that we have it here.
Okay.
So, yeah, to your point, just taking these individual questions, there's you will be successful answering just these individual questions even. So. Okay, I think we're done with discuss. I think done discussing discuss. So on Learn Layer 5, I think is how we're referring to it. Either that or we're calling it Learn in G. Maybe Learn in G is more appropriate. So last week we looked at that effort and we looked at a little bit at the design spec for that effort. And just as a refresher for some of us and for some that haven't heard it before, and because it's also a point of confusion, I think, for everyone who takes a look at this site. So we're looking at bringing forth learning paths and some courses, some service mesh training. And we have some of that under layer5.io/learn. There's some learning materials. Some go deep and some are interactive, like some labs. Good. But they're all kind of ad hoc. It's sort of, hey, you can pick up this book, you can do an interactive lab, you can do a workshop. But we don't have a holistic set of learning paths where you might go through a couple of courses, each of the courses having multiple mini sections to them. So I'm trying to lay that out. And we're looking at leveraging an open source site. The site is this tutorials site. So this is open source. It runs on, Nikhil, this is Gatsby as well. And we're looking at replicating a lot of what they've, the structure and flow that they have here, instead of people stepping through frameworks for how to use Angular with, in this case, with Storybook. With that tool, we're not using Storybook, the tool, we're just using Storybook, the website. We would have, 9 to 10 different service meshes over here. People can learn to do the same thing. They can learn to deploy a service mesh, and they can learn to deploy different types of service meshes and what the differences are. So we've done
actually, I guess like Storybook would be a great option to like work with React. Because
quite possible.
I've got a lot of people that told me that React is a quite good option with Storybook.
Yep, just in general, right? Yeah, it's a good. That's correct. We should put that as an issue to consider after the site is done. Like it's a coincidental distraction, I guess is what I would say. Like, and maybe it's the best distraction. I don't know. But it just so happens that this open source site that we're looking at reincarnating happens to be on a potentially piece of interesting technology for us. So, okay, so then how do we get up and going? So Cynthia's here, and Nikhil is here. There's a number that I'm gonna not call out the rest of the names. There's a number of you that are here to carry this forth. So last week we talked about getting going with a couple of initial issues. Chinmay, it looks like I think you created these 2 issues. You got 2 different individuals signed up. So the first one was to deliver the table of contents component, which is, we were just looking right here.
Yes, sir.
Any update on that from any traction there?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. And then on the other one, it's a card component for, I think more or less it was a card component for
the home page.
Yeah, for these guys. Any movement that you've seen?
So it was assigned yesterday.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The
So
previous contribute.
Right. Okay. Point of clarification, I think for me then, Austin, as you laid out this design, can you recap here? This is the overview here in the wireframe. And we have this, well, I guess what looks like might be an image or some design that would go in the space here. In the high fidelity mock-up though, we don't. Is that an oversight, or is that intentional, or am I misreading what the design is intended to be?
If you remember, Lee, that the one with the image was the first iteration. Hello?
Mm-hmm.
That was the first iteration. The one without the image was the second iteration. Then after the second iteration, instead
Austin, can you hear me? Okay, I so we lost Austin, but so Nikhil, so near as I recall, like, hey, this is the wireframe that was originally done, the home page, and then there's the sections. The learn sections page has some cards, but they're I don't know. I think they're more specific to the learning path that you would have chosen. And so in the high fidelity mockup, there is no image where we see one was to be in the wireframe.
I'm audible.
Yep.
Okay. So I think he has some new designs in the bottom, which is termed as future learn layer 5. And there he has added some images as well.
So
Sorry, my it got disconnected.
So three of them. Actually, not that one. Yeah, at the corner. Yeah, that one.
mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is a new design that does use the appropriate header or nav bar, but I don't know that the colors made sense, that they make sense. So Austin, we lost you. I think Austin, you were saying this was a second design?
Yes, remember the first design we did when it was a full LMS system, a learning management system, and you said that was not what we were looking at. We should make it more more structured and more like detailed to look a bit more like storybook. So after that, we made a second iteration, and we had to remove the images on this, and then make it into a shorter card with more information about the courses and less images for the third iteration, which was which is the current one.
Okay. Okay. So this wireframe here is no longer valid?
So if you check the designs, I think we have about 2 or 3 wireframes for the old designs which we're changing and iterating on to get the desired result we wanted.
Okay. So as we go to break this down, I guess I'm trying to figure out where we are. Like what are we supposed to break down? I guess I don't understand. If this is the wireframe section, this wireframe looks like this. This is the high fidelity mockup. It's different. So Austin, can you help shed any light on that?
Just a second, Lee. Let me.
I think we can like have a simple design in which the cards will have a white background, but the image of the respective service mesh can use as a backdrop for each of the cards.
Yep. Do you mean, yeah. So Nikhil, in part, do you mean like if sort of here, there's a card, but it has a little bit of an image in the background, and that image could be the image of the service mesh?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. Okay. Looks like so another week, and we've got another week go by. We don't quite have a specific direction. I think last week we were in the same boat, so we just started taking components and breaking them down. So we've got 2 of them out there. So we don't necessarily need work on the mega menu. if that's the same. Eventually, the mega menu will potentially have a user account. So the user might be able to log in, and then they would have their profile up top. That's a second phase thing. So I think in the first phase, we wouldn't need that user account. So just, oh boy, if we talk about how this might go in phases, the first one just being focused on the learning paths, just the fact that there's a learning path, there's a course, and then there's sections. And then each of those learning paths have different, one is for Istio, different frameworks. One's for Istio, one's for Linkerd. The second phase, then bringing in the notion of a user account and the ability to track progress. Does that make sense to everyone, that it would be, that we would provide the users value by just delivering the learning paths? So here's an example of the hierarchy of the learning paths. So the top level card, Chinmay, that you made an issue for, that would be like the learning path card. And the learning path card, I think right now, lands somewhere between that one, this one, which might be a little bland. And I don't think we're going to have that many learning paths. 3 to 4. The last mock-up was here. I think sort of setting aside the content and looking at the either the colors and the use of an image. Like it might be, I think Nikhil, in part what you were saying is like potentially just using an image, like using this but incorporating an image.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because if we only have 3 or 4 of them, and you sort of relate that back to over here, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have 8 projects. Over here, they have 1, 2, 3, 4 learning paths. I mean, we're looking at about 3 to 4 learning paths. And so, yeah, that wouldn't be like Nikhil, what you just said wouldn't be that far off from this, which would be, a short description and then an image to. So the other thing that we could do, that we could use on that page, the overview page, is, well, things like this, like how many learning paths are there? Who are they for? How much content is in here total? How many service meshes do we cover? How many courses? How many interactive labs? Like just some statistics. The fact, how many people have we trained thus far? Like these would be good things to have here. Right. So Austin, was that ever captured in these?
Yeah, if I do explain the design decision, it was captured in those because we had to remove some sections because it looked bland. And we removed, by the last meeting, you said it was too much for 4 learning parts to be there. So that was why it was made 3 in the new designs.
Okay. Huh. Okay. So for
And that
this
was
week,
taken out.
okay. Do you know where they are? Are
New
they in the
designs.
archive somewhere?
Yes, they're in the archives. Everything that was removed from the new design got comments of last week are in the archives.
Okay. Do you know where they are?
I just duplicated the old designs and took them out. So they are all kept and dropped in Israel, dropped here. So and if you check, the reason why we use this new section instead of the image was because the axe back then was to make it look more of what HashiCorp has without the image.
Okay. But we didn't end up with an image here though.
Yes, that no, the ask was to make it look more of what HashiCorp has because they do not have an image on the ads.
Okay. I think this is the
But the new designs then to look more like storybook then had the images. So that was when the images were incorporated in the third iteration.
okay. So HashiCorp does have a small image.
Yeah, they do, but we didn't want as I see back then, it wasn't needed when we were doing our design.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, so of the time that we have left, we should try to work toward opening up one more issue, like one more component to work on at least. And I think we lost Cynthia. So I don't know that we should try to get her one while she's not here. That might not be fair. So I know Nikhil's going to focus here, but Neil, you've got a pop-up in the Mesher UI. Gaurav, you're trying to finish off the filters UI. Gaurav, are you all filled up there? Or did you want to try your hand at something here as well?
Yeah, I would love to try here as well. Currently, I dropped from the meeting, so can you please share the Figma link again so I can have a straight look?
Yeah. Who's got the? Does anybody have the link to Figma? Let's see. Nikhil, I guess just understanding the. Do you want to talk a little bit about which of these components might make more sense to start with over the next, considering the internals of the site?
Component wise, I think we basically require 4 components at max, like from the other side tutorial book. But other, it depends upon our design, like how we are iterating upon it and how we are displaying things. So suppose if we want to, like, we have a sidebar, and suppose we click on the learning path and various different courses for a particular learning path are shown on the sidebar, then we can simply use the TOC component and modify it a bit to work it for the courses as well. But if we are using it differently, like they are using it, actually they are using the same way. They are using providing icons for different courses like React, Vue, Angular. So they are using a similar process. But yeah, if that might be something I haven't checked what component they're using. But if we want to do so, we can replicate that component. But if we want to show the courses separately out there on the page itself, then it would be a separate process altogether. Then we just simply need to add the link to each card or button, whatever it is.
Oh, I see. Yeah, we will want to provide the ability for them to, like, for the user to be within a given set of content. Like here, they're learning a specific piece of content, and the way that, and there's the navigator to switch between doing this thing on Linkerd or doing this thing on console, and that they could click to switch. Yeah, that I mean, for the most part, like, I think we won't go wrong if we're initially just taking the same approach as the storybook site. it's possible that we would look to refactor longer term, but just in part just trying to make it easy on ourselves.
Okay, okay. Actually, in the design spec, I've listed out 4 components which can be used.
Okay.
Let me check. The course homepage and the chapter homepage as well. Apart from the table of contents and the learning. These 4 components are the main components which could be used, similar to what we have for our use case. And
Gotcha.
apart from them switching over the service meshes, that is something which I think they simply change the path, is what I understand, but I will still take a look at it.
Should we have 2 more issues opened then? Like I think we have these two, at least for these 2 components. I think we have an issue open.
Yes, yes. We have
maybe-
issues.
Okay.
So actually, the thing is, the course and the chapter page will depend upon the learning path, but it can be bypassed because that's simply a design which you are waiting on, but they can progress with the path. Like they can take reference as the path name and simply iterate upon the other components.
Okay.
I will open the issues for both of them and I will explain a bit upon how to approach with them. So it might be easy.
Thank you. Yeah, it will be. Yeah, I mean, in part, like Chinmay is asking the question, so if someone clicks on a card, where will it lead? Will it lead to the content page, or will it showcase the content present in the course, like in Storybook? And so, Chinmay, the card that you're referring to is it this top level card, the one from the homepage?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I think right now, if someone's here, they're interested. If we have like 3 or 4 of these, and it's a learning path, that the learning path contains 1 or more courses, and in each course is 1 or more, or is not 1 or more, but is a number of sections. So if they were to click to go into the course, they click here or click on the card itself. They would be, conceptually navigated to a particular, and I think this is like one of the things that Austin isn't quite clear. It's like the nav through the site. So learn sections. So if this is just learn, this is learn sections. So this would be a section. These would be the sections within a given learning path, or the courses rather within a learning path. So are we still using the term sections in? Yeah, okay, so section. So Chinmay, I think in concept, we're trying to Nikhil, does this go against what the site is capable of? If we have learning path, course, and then
Yeah. So for us, I think the section would be each service mesh, or it would be separate for each of them. Or if I get it correctly, like suppose the section is mutual TLS, but we will provide them with 5 icons replicating the storybook site design, and they will able to switch between different labs for each service mesh and be able to complete it.
Yeah, I think we can make the content fit the existing hierarchy. Like, so if it was 4 deep, I think that we can restructure the content to fit into that. If it's only 3 deep, like, because I think that this highlights like a 4 deep thing: learning path, course, section, and then individual. Like, actually, yeah, no, I'm sorry. So it's been a while since I've looked at this, but I think the intention was to try to organize the content such that it matches with the current site, the current Storybook site. and the three layers were learning path, course, and section, and that a section is just a page. On that page, you might have labs, one or more labs, and at the end of the page, you might have a quiz. So it ended up being kind of just those three levels.
Okay. And all those three labs would be same. It would just be changing depending upon the service mesh the user is proceeding with.
Yeah, right. Right. And I don't know that this sample structure lays it out in the most understandable way. It's a lot easier to understand when it's mocked up. Okay, so here's a different, here's hopefully a different perspective. So Chinmay, like hopefully this helps, is, okay, if someone comes to the site, they see that there's a learning path called Mastering Service Meshes for Developers, Mastering Service Meshes for Operators, Mastering Service Meshes for Product Managers, maybe those three learning paths. So they land on the initial page, there's three cards. They were to click on one, Mastering Service Meshes for Developers. Maybe it is what, yeah, it's what the learning path is called. So I think this is laid out more clearly than I'm explaining it, but Nikhil, it is a lot of what you're just saying, which is the exact structure that's on that site is mapped here. And as you go through it, I believe that this fits verbatim, exactly. So you're switching between frameworks, or you're switching between service meshes, and it's the same content here, same content here. So it's the same set of content here and here. You just, the learner chooses to only go through one of the types.
Yeah. So I think there would be two pages which would be using cards to show. One of them would be the learning path page, and the other one would be the chapter or the courses page, I guess. Because we can have multiple courses within the same learning path, so it should be highlighted either using card. I think the card would be a best approach, but again, we would be using cards a lot.
Sure. Maybe if we shape the cards like this, that maybe it doesn't feel like a bunch of reuse, even though it is. Or it doesn't feel like a bunch of cards, even though it is.
Yeah, we can do that as well. And apart from that, suppose we use the cards in that way, that is highlighted in where you are selecting correctly. So we will have to define a default service mesh that would open up for each of them. Like currently Storybook uses React for each of them. We
Sure.
can either set it HTO for all of them, and then the user will have the capability to switch between different multiple.
That sounds great.
But again, that might be that is something which we might have to change once we introduce the concept of user accounts, because in that case we won't be able to track the progress if we simply allow the user to switch between the service meshes like that.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good consideration when we get there. It might be that we allow them to bookmark anything that they want to, and there's no, it's just happenstance. It's just whatever they bookmark, we'll link them to that page. So it doesn't have to be sequential in that regard. That if we are tracking their progress, it might be that we don't record anything other than the quiz that they take at the end of each section, and for what service mesh they took that quiz, and and that those have to be sequential, or even if we didn't track those sequentially, it's just they did the seventh course, the seventh section, and they passed that quiz. Like, okay, they didn't pass the sixth one or the fifth one or the fourth one, but, and like, it wouldn't be, you know, what I'm saying is maybe we will have a flexible system in which they're able to take the quizzes in any given sequence that they want, but up until the point that they pass all 8 of them, they wouldn't, you know, earn a certificate. You know, we might make some of the logic easy on ourselves, and in some respects easy on them, so we're not forcing them to step through it in a particular way.
Yeah. Yes, I get that, and I think I'm able to like think of the way how we can progress with that. But considering that is still a second phase, I think we can avoid thinking of that currently
Okay.
and let more focus on the current.
Yeah, good point. Okay, cool. Well, some good progress, and Nikhil, you'll get an issue or two open.
Yeah, sure. I think I will open the issue with the courses one with the design that we have finalized, which is the horizontal card instead of the square one. Sorry, the rectangular card instead of the.
Yeah. That sounds great.
Okay. Good.
If you consider it too bland, in the horizontal card, you kind of like is done on learn.hashicorp.com, you might toss in a small image. But yeah.
Yeah, we can keep a placeholder for it. Like when the user writes the code, they can keep the placeholder for it. And when we get an image, finalize an image for each of them, then we can simply use it.
Nice. Okay. All right. Well, these last couple of weeks are a little bit slow, I think, for some of you that are on the call, just because we're trying to figure out the structure and how to get up and going. But we're almost there. Anything else from anyone else?
I think we are good to go.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all. See you Wednesday.
Yeah. Bye.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Everyone. Bye all.